Okay guys, today we're going to jump into our next lesson. We're going to do graphs and statistics. That's going to take us all the way to the end of our holiday break. Today you need at least through page 7 of your graphs booklet. If you've been into the school building recently, then you've gotten a hard copy from me. If not, you need to print your graphs booklet, which is located in the Google Classroom stream. It was posted on Wednesday, I believe. Or you can go to the topics that says booklets in the classwork section of Google Classroom. That's also there for you to print. In our Do Now today, we're going to decide what type of graph would be the most appropriate to display the following data. So it's not necessarily the only way we could display it, but it's going to give us the best visual. And that's what our graphs are, a visual representation of the data. So you're going to use pages 3 and 4 in your booklet to help you, to remind you what a line graph looks like, bar graph, circle graph, and histogram. So go ahead, pause the video, take a look through pages 3 to 4, and answer your Do Now. Hopefully you answered your Do Now, and now we can go over it. So the most appropriate graph for showing change over time, that would be a line graph. Okay. When we have two data values we're going to show over the same timeline, we can even use a double line graph. Okay. A graph that categorizes data into equal intervals is called a histogram. It looks like a bar graph, but the data is broken down into intervals, and the bars on our histogram touch. Okay. A bar graph compares categorical data. So if we wanted to show data of favorite color, we could use a bar graph to do that. We could even do a double bar graph if we wanted to split that data between boys and girls. Okay. A circle graph best compares part to whole relationships. And it works really well when we have data that we want to display as a percentage of a whole. That works really nicely for us. Okay, so let's jump into our graphs booklet here. Make sure your name's on the front cover. We are going to be taking notes today on page 5. When you come back into the school building, I'm going to ask to see your notes that you took on page 5. And I'm expecting them to be a model of what we're doing here, what my video shows you. I expect you to have all of those detailed notes on your page 5 in your graphs booklet. So I will ask to see that. That is the expectation. So we're taking notes on page 5 of our graphs booklet, looking at reading and interpreting graphs. First, we're going to start with a set of data. Jamie's math test scores are below. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 test scores. We're going to represent that data in a stem and leaf plot. Okay. Hopefully you remember this from 6th grade or from elementary school. They're fun, they're easy. The key to it is to remember that the stem represents our tens place, and then the leaves represent our ones place of our data. Okay. Jamie's math test scores range from the 70s to the 90s. So our tens place, and again we order it, is going to be a 7, an 8, and a 9 for 70, 80s, and 90s. We kind of justify it with that line, that bar that shows us the difference between our stem and our leaf, our tens place, and our ones place. Okay. Now we're going to organize our data from least to greatest as we make our stem and leaf plot. So I'm going to look, what's his lowest test score? His lowest test score was a 77. To show 77, we've got the 7 in the tens place in the stem. So then we need a 7 in the leaves, in the ones place, and that shows us 77. Jamie also got a 79 on a test, so we need a 9 there. So that shows me now 7 in the tens place, 9 in the ones place. And maybe you put a little check mark. Oh, we did that data, we did that data. Now we go to 80. We need a 0 to denote that. Next test score is an 81. So we'll put our 1 there. Then an 82. Oh, and another 82. So we've got to put another 2 there. So I can see he got 2 82s. Okay. Then we've got a 90 and a 91. Double check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I included all of our data points. Okay. From this data, we can find a few pieces of information, our measures of variability or measures of variance, and our measures of central tendency. our range is a measure of variance, or tells us how much our data varies. Our range is going to show us how far apart the biggest data point is and the smallest data point. So we're going to take the difference between the largest and smallest value, which in Jamie's test scores is going to be 91 for the largest and 77 for the smallest. We subtract them and we get 14. So our range is 14. Our next three vocabulary words are mode, median, and mean, are all what we call measures of central tendency. And that means they're trying to describe the center of our data, so that middle area. So it depends on the data set which one is going to be the most descriptive of our data. We could have the mode. The mode is the data point, the number that occurs the most often. I think of mode is the number that occurs the most. So if we look in our stem and leaf plot, I see in the 80 category, we have 2 2s. That tells me that 82 occurs twice in our data, and we can see it there. It occurs twice, the most. So that would be our mode. If we also had, let's say, 2 77s, we would say both 82 and 77 as our mode. If each data point only occurred once, then we would say there was no mode. Okay. Let's move on to C, which is our median, or the middle of our data. To find the middle point, the middle number, we're going to list our data from least to greatest. So let's do that. We're going to do 77, 79, 80, 81, 82, 82, 90, and 91. I always like to go back and check that I got all of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We got all of them. Now I'm going to start crossing off the smallest data value, then the biggest, and so on until I find the middle. Smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest, smallest, biggest. Uh-oh. We're left with 2 middle values, so we must find their average. That means we're going to add them up, divide by 2 to find the middle. So that's going to be 163 divided by 2, which is 81.5. And some of you might have just known that, right? Because 81.5 is going to be the middle of 81 and 82. And if you knew that, wasn't necessary to take that last step of showing the adding and dividing. E, finding the mean of our data, is finding the average, right? The mean math teachers calculate your average for the quarter. Okay? To find the mean, we're going to add up all of our numbers and divide it by our number of values, divide it by our number of add-ins. So again, we're going to list them all, this time with addings. Organization is very important with our statistics. Again, I'm going to check I have them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 data points, so we would divide by 8. If you wanted to use a calculator here, that would be fine. So if we go through, we find the sum. I've already calculated it beforehand. It's 662. And we divide by 8. We're going to get 82.75 as our mean. Okay, so you can see our measures of central tendency, they're all pretty close together. 82, 81.5, 82.75. So I would say they're fairly descriptive of our data set. Okay. On number 2 here, I think it's going to be a little hard to see the detail in the chart through the video, but you have it on your own paper that you're taking notes on. Below is the weather forecast for Rye from December 5th to December 9th. That's not this December 5th to 9th, the previous one. And we're curious, what type of graph would most be appropriate for representing the daily high and daily low temperatures? So we're going to show that over the course of 5 days. So that's over a certain amount of time. So I would say a line graph. Because we have both high and low temperatures, I think it should be a double line graph. where we're going to do one line for our high temperatures and another line for our low temperatures. Okay, so we're going to label our information in our coordinate plane. Well, really quadrant 1 there. Our x-axis always shows time. Okay? And then our y-axis is going to be our other measurement. So x is showing time, so that's going to be our days. Y-axis is going to show our temperature, and it looks like the temperature was measured in degrees Fahrenheit, so I'm going to label that there for myself. Our days, we could label as today, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. We could also label with the dates, the 5th through the 9th. It's up to you of which one you want to use. I think I'm going to use our word labels here. I think I'm going to skip 3 and then start. So that's where I'm going to put today. Notice I'm doing my mark on the line, not on the box, on the line. So go 3 more. And then the next one is Friday. Three more. Saturday. 3 more. Sunday. 3 more. And then there's our last one, Monday. Okay. Now our temperatures are going to go on our y-axis. It looks like they range from a low of 24 and a high of 54. I will admit, previously I tried scaling this graph and I thought maybe I would skip and then go by 2s, and I couldn't get it to work. So I think what we're going to have to do is go by 10s and then estimate in between the boxes. So I believe we should, let's see, I think we're going to start at, let's skip. So let's see, let's do every 2 boxes will be 10. So every 2, 20, 30, 40, 50. So really essentially we're going by 5s, but not writing by 5. So every 2 boxes is 10. Okay. So now I'll start with, let's start with our highs, okay? So looking in our chart today, the high was 42. So I'm gonna go to today on the x-axis and estimate 42 on the y. So our midline here would be 45, so it's gonna be below that, maybe there, okay? And then Friday, the high was 45, so that'll be right there on that line. And then Saturday, ooh, the high was only 36. So I'm going to find 35 and go a little bit above. Sunday, the high was 42. Find 40, go a little more. And then Monday, a high of 54. So I found 50, there's 55, a little below. Excellent. Good. Now our line graph, we're going to connect with a line using a straight edge. I'm going to draw my line right now so I don't get confused with the low graph. Some people might say it's easier to do the dots, all the dots first, and then make your lines. Notice how I'm adjusting as I go from dot to dot. Really, we're playing connect the dots. Okay. And that's going to be for our high temperature. Okay. All right. So now we'll do our low temperature. Okay. So today, the low is 28. So I go to today, the low is 28. I could use a different color. I figure at home you're probably using a pencil, so I'm going to kind of model if I didn't have a different color. Ooh, on Friday, the low is also a 28. So it should be that exact same height. Saturday, the low is 24, so just below 25. Sunday, the low is 39. So let's see, there's 40 just below. And on Monday, the low is 51. So there's 50, 51. Okay, because we're using the same color to show a difference between our high and low graphs, this time I'm going to use a dotted or a dashed line. So just picking up my marker every so often. And there we go. Okay. One of the other things we want to do is really just kind of make a key for ourselves to show that our high temp, right, we're going to have that solid line, and then our low temp, we're going to have that dotted line. And we also want to put a title on our graph, like maybe temperature in rye. So we've got everything nice and labeled. Okay, so this really kind of ends our notes portion, but I want to give you some clues to our classwork, pages 6 and 7. That is your homework for tonight, posting it to Padlet. So I would pay attention if I were you, because I'm giving you little clues. Okay, number 1. Okay, we've got these pictures of these people: Alice, Brenda, Kathy, Dennis, Errol, Freda. And they're waiting at the bus, and their heights and age are plotted on a scatter plot. So your job is to identify which dot number matches each person based on their height and their age. So notice we've got our height, right? We're going from 4 feet all the way over to 6 feet. So somebody who's really tall is going to be over here. And then our age, from 0 all the way up to 60. So somebody who's really old is going to be up there. So if you're old and tall, you're probably number 2, maybe Alice. If you're tall but young, you're going to be number 5, maybe Errol. Okay, so kind of a little process of elimination. On number 2, we've got a bar graph that shows the number of students enrolled in different science classes. You're going to be asked who has the highest enrollment, how many students are enrolled, least popular, and then the median. When you're finding the median, it's going to be important that you're using the number of students enrolled, right? So like biology has 220, chemistry has 140. So those are the numbers I'm going to be ordering from least to greatest and then ticking off. On number 3, we've got another stem and leaf plot, right? So we want to be using that data to find our median, mode, and range. Okay. On 7, we've got a dot plot or a line plot, you might have heard it referred to as, showing the number of books read per month. Okay. So what is the most number of books read? 18, right? It has a little tick mark there. How many total data points are represented? We're going to be counting up all the little X's. When we're identifying the mode, we're really looking for the largest stack. And then as you identify the median, yes, you could go and list all the numbers, 0, 2, 2, 2, 4, 4, 5. What I like to do though is I kind of use this to help me, and I kind of go, oh, lowest, biggest, lowest, biggest, lowest, biggest, lowest, biggest, and so on until I find the middle. Okay. Number 5, we've got a double line graph to answer some information. Okay. And then number 6, you're creating your own line graph, right? Over number of days and height of the plant. Number of days, that's time, right? So that's going to go on our X, right? So we want our number of days. And then our y-axis is going to have our height in millimeters, okay? And we only have one plant, so there will be only one line. So hopefully that helps you guys get a jump start on the classwork, pages 6 and 7 that needs to be posted to the Padlet, okay? Have a great day. If you have any questions, rejoin the Meet link and ask, okay? Bye, guys.